Today I'm meeting with Heather Wolsey, and we're coming from the Utah State Capitol, where we're in the tail end of the 2017 legislative session. And I'm here because Heather is not a lobbyist, or at least not one that you'd be accustomed to calling a lobbyist, because you're not a professional lobbyist, you're not a paid lobbyist. She'd be what you'd know as a citizen lobbyist, which is perfectly acceptable. You may not be aware of the fact. You don't have to register, you don't have to get any kind of certification, license, permit, and you can come to the legislature and you can address the legislators, you can address the committee meetings, all that sort of thing. And that is what you've been doing this session.
That is what I've been doing.
I asked her before we went on camera, like, well, how long have you been here? She's like, I'm not even sure I can remember how long I've been here. So what have you been here about? Because we're going to talk to you today about some of the things you've been addressing.
Okay. Well, everything that I'm addressing is domestic violence, because that is my background and that is what I'm seeking to change. I don't accept the way that I've been living, and I really need the laws to protect me and empower me, and that's what I've been looking to do. The first bill that I had a huge part in writing, it was put together from my experience, was House Bill 248. So House Bill 248 was put together by Representative Christensen out of Draper, and it addresses protective orders and how they're handled. My struggle with this is that every 2 years or 6 months, depending on what the order was, I was going back into court and having to ask a judge to renew it. First of all, that re-victimized me, and I didn't like reliving my experience, but second of all, I'd have to face my former spouse, the person that abused me, and that was always very traumatic, just because he would say horrible things about me, and I would have to fight my cause over and over and over again, and I don't like doing that. So I'm really excited to say that House Bill 248 passed unanimously through the Senate last night. It passed unanimously through the House. It's a great bill. I love this bill. This bill, upon conviction, it's upon conviction of a domestic violence offense, the victim in the case will be given a continuous protective order, meaning they will have an order put in place for life, so they don't have to go back and relive their story. It is right there, and they can just know and have that peace of mind so they can deal with all the other issues in their life and start to stabilize and move forward.
Does it distinguish between the level of offense? Or is it any domestic violence conviction?
It's a domestic violence conviction.
So no matter what level of offense it is, if it qualifies as a domestic violence crime,
that is correct.
Is it something that automatically issues, or is it something that the victim can request be issued? As far as
it's something that should be automatically issued. It's something that should be given. I don't know how often you've been in court with domestic violence issues. I honestly don't know, but even if most times these issues are charged as a felony, they're pled down to misdemeanors. It's just how things happen. Most domestic violent cases are pled out, and it's frustrating to me. I've left in 2011. I've dealt with stalking and harassing since then, and I'm just tired of it. So there are different things in the law where it says if the victim feels safe enough and there's an issue that, well, not even an issue, but if that perpetrator has proven that he's changed, these things can be dismissed.
Made his or her peace with the victim or something like that to the satisfaction of the
Then
victim.
you can go back to court, you can have it dismissed. This isn't something that is going to stay in place and honestly damn anyone. I'm sorry to say that, but that's just true. If that, and there are also things in there that says if there are children involved and if the other person needs to see their children, the court can appoint different either family members or people from the state to be that go-between, so the victim doesn't have to see the person that did this to him. So it's a very thoughtful law.
Yeah, you bring up a good point that as I listened to you. What would that mean then if you've got a domestic violence conviction with a couple that has divorced? Does that have an impact on the visitation or parent time provisions? I mean, does that mean that person simply has to stay away from the victim when he or she comes to pick up the children?
That's exactly what it means. So it just simply says that the court can appoint someone to be the go-between for the children. That person never has to see the person that abused them. So I know in my case, my brother was appointed for a while. It didn't work out so well. The state was then appointed. That didn't work out either. He's lost all parental rights now, so he just never has access to the kids, but there are options in there for the court to appoint someone to be the go-between.
And does it require that, or can it just be like a curbside pickup kind of thing?
This is basically saying I never want to see this person again, and so it requires that somebody be appointed. It's truly protecting the victim.
Is that a thing again where the victim can say, no, that's all right, I'm happy to do curbside pickup or something like
I
that? Or?
don't know why a victim would want to do that. Honestly, that's up to their discretion, but in my case, I don't want to see him again. I
But
don't.
the victim could do. The reason I ask is it might be something where someone says, "Look, I'm a victim, but I don't want to have any kind of active interaction. But I do have children with this offender, and it might actually be considered either a hassle for the perpetrator or even the victim, where it's like, oh well, I like having a go-between. I don't like having to pay for it, or I don't like having to drive.
Anything that I ever did, it never had to be paid for. It was simply just saying this is a safe person that I trust my kids with, that there'll be hand-ups and pickups. I'm glad I don't have to deal with that anymore, but it truly is just saying this is a safe person. It was never a fee involved. It was just establishing a chain of command, as it were.
Tell me a little bit about how it was drafted. Was that something where you were approached by people that were interested in the legislation? Was it your idea and you approached the senator? Or how did that come about?
So he's a legislator. He's a great legislator, though.
He's the representative?
Out of Draper. So it actually, I approached them. I got to a point where last spring, I thought I was going to die. And I went to my public, I went to my community, and I asked for help. I told them that they needed to help me figure this out. I needed to be safe, and I needed to help them be safe. And then I took my entire experience to Representative Christensen. I told him all my struggles, where I felt the law was letting me down, where my constant hurts and pains were the things that weren't allowing me to move forward. And he took my entire story, and this is what he chose out of it, and this is how he's addressed that part of my story. I still have other parts of my story where I feel we can do better in the law, and I will be addressing those next year. But as for this year, I think this is a great fix to what not only I face, but many victims of domestic violence in the state.
Is it modeled after some other state's law, or was that something that was created?
It is absolutly all ours.
Uniquely ours.
It's beautifully ours.
And it's Senate Bill, what was it
It's
again?
House Bill 248.
248.
Kurt Bramble sponsored it in the Senate. He did a great job of arguing it, a great job of getting it through. He is fantastic as well. I've found support all the way across from the House to the Senate in getting this through.
And it's really interesting how much of an impact you can have on the state's laws and policies
It is.
working here at the legislature. It's not that difficult. You don't have to have a degree in political science.
No.
It's pretty straightforward. It's surprising how easy it is to speak with the legislators. I think some people might think like that's too difficult, or there might be all kinds of security concerns.
No.
At least at this point, we're not seeing that.
No,
And
I have to tell you, I have had the best experience up here. Our elected officials in the state of Utah, legislators, senators, are some of the most kind, genuine, compassionate people I've ever met. And as I've brought my story to them, because I've testified on behalf of some other bills, House Bill 208, House Bill 17, I really have been in testifying for bills that I think will help my story as well and help other people like me. They have been just absolutely gracious. I would encourage anybody, if you have an issue, to reach out to your legislators, reach out to your senators. They're more than willing to talk to you. In fact, they want to talk to you. I had the best compliment this year from Representative Ivory, who is another great man, and I'm so glad that he is fighting hard for all of domestic violence victims. He's fighting hard for children, and not only that, for just our state, for our lands and things. But he told me that I have single-handedly changed the face of the legislature this year, because I've come up and I've refused to be quiet. I've been respectful, I've been honest, I've been true, but I've told my story, and they need to hear that. They need to hear what's going on with the citizens so they can be able to address the issues we have and change it. Because if we don't tell them what the problems are, they'll never know how to fix them.
People make a lot of the importance of voting, and not to take away from that, but this is an area where coming to the Capitol and influencing what kind of laws actually get passed is where you can really have an impact as just a single citizen, as your story has shown.
Absolutely.
Well, I appreciate you sharing that with us, and we'll put up a link to that House Bill 248 so people can see that, and we'll just put that across the screen here. And then we'll also put a link in the video description as well, so if you're interested in seeing what happens to that, you can track what happened to the bill, and when it looks like it's pretty sure that it'll be signed into law if it was passed by both the House and the Senate, and you'll see what happens. Thanks again for spending some time with us.
Thank you.